on the front. The best thing about memories is making them. I'm going to share with you some family facts. And I have my sister Ann to thank for the passion that I have for family history. For you see, when you're not a part of the memories that are being made, you still want to know about the history of them. I go by the moniker of memory keeper. I try to write it down so that in the future we will have something to remember. But Ann is the keeper of the genealogy, and she has dug and found out things about our family and has shared it with us over the years. So today, I'm going to share a little something with you. The next time you are in the cemetery, in the St. James Cemetery, and you pass by a tombstone that says, Harry J., son of A.J. and Rosa Martin, died at Camp Humphrey. He gave his life for his country. Here's something I want you to know. Andrew Jack and Rosa Martin had sons and daughters. Among them was a daughter named Essie Mae Martin. Essie met and married her only husband, Will Anderson. Essie and Will had sons and daughters. Among them was a son whose name was Walter Riley Anderson. Riley Anderson met and married his first love, Mary Jones Anderson. They had sons and daughters. This is the roll call of the children born to them. Siblings, when I call your name, I need you to just stand for a moment. And if your mom or your dad is not here, children of them stand in their absence. This is the roll call. Walter Riley Anderson, Jr. Harry Paul Anderson. Just stand. Stand, siblings, and if you can, just keep standing for a moment. Warren Gaymel Anderson. Marion Carleen Anderson. Paul Lewis Anderson. Ann Yvette Anderson. Gary Eisenhower Anderson. Hilda Ruth Anderson. Priscilla K. Anderson. Cynthia Sue Anderson. Gloria Jean Anderson. Alice Faye Anderson. Dawn Levon Anderson. Donna Lynette Anderson. These are descendants, great-grandchildren of Andrew Jack and Rosa Martin. You may have a seat, siblings. Now remember that tombstone I told you about in the cemetery. Harry J. Martin is the name on that tombstone. Harry Martin was the son of Andrew and Rosa Martin. And he may have been, I say may have been, the first descendant to serve in the United States military. He died at Camp Humphreys at the tender age of 25. It is likely that he died of Spanish influenza, which was widespread in the camp. Now, Camp Humphreys was located on a parcel of land in Virginia, 15 miles south of Washington, D.C. While the month of his death is unclear, the winter of 1918 at the camp is remembered for its extremely cold temperatures and heavy snowfall. Despite these severe conditions, some 5,000 soldiers and 6,000 civilians cleared, surveyed, and constructed camp facilities in 11 months. Much of that heavy labor was performed by a segregated African American service battalion and Harry J. Martin was among them. Harry Anderson, grandson of Andrew Jack Martin, son of Will and Essie Anderson, enlisted in the United States Army at Camp Blanding in 1946. He served in World War II and the Korean War. Hutch Anderson, grandson of Andrew Jack and Rosa Martin, son of Will and Essie Anderson, was a private in the United States Army serving in World War II. Walter Raleigh Anderson Sr., grandson of Andrew Jack and Rosa Martin, son of Will and Essie Anderson, served in the United States Army. Harry Paul Anderson, great-grandson of Andrew Jack and Rosa Martin, left home at 17 with his parents' permission to join the military. He recalls riding the bus from Lake City to Jacksonville for the induction ceremony. He did his basic training for 8 weeks in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Those were some of the longest days of Harry's young life. He did not see or hear from his family during that time. He served in the military for 6 years. Walter Raleigh Anderson Jr., great-grandson of Andrew Jack Martin, grandson of Will and Essie Anderson, son of Walter Raleigh Anderson, was drafted to serve his country in the United States Army. He was an Army medic and also served in Vietnam. Warren G. Anderson, great-grandson of Andrew Jack and Rosa Martin, grandson of Will and Essie Anderson, son of Raleigh and Mary Anderson, was also a draftee. When we look at letters from his mother to him in 1967, we find that he was a PFC, Private First Class, in Company B in the 126th Infantry Division. G remembers that he sent all his money home to his mother during his tour of Vietnam. Paul Lewis Anderson, great-grandson of Andrew Jack and Rosa Martin, grandson of Will and Essie Anderson, son of Raleigh and Mary Anderson, was drafted just like his brothers, Walter and Warren. He was drafted August 7, 1969, and he traveled to Fort Benning, Georgia for basic training. He was a sergeant in the Army and served in Vietnam. He was one of the top soldiers in his class, and as such, had the opportunity to go to NCO training. Paul served for 18 months, receiving an honorable discharge after the death of his mother, Mary. My mouth is getting a little dry. It's sticking to my braces. After the funeral, Raleigh asked Paul if he wanted to go back. He didn't. You see, his dad needed him on the farm. So letters were written by Mr. Martin Ferguson, Mr. A.K. Black, and Mr. Green, and sent to the American Red Cross. Paul did not return to Vietnam, but he was eventually sent to Fort Stewart, Georgia, where he was processed out of the Army. Gary Eisenhower Anderson, great-grandson of Andrew Jack Martin, grandson of Will and Essie Anderson, son of Raleigh and Mary Anderson, always wanted to be a drill sergeant in the U.S. Army. He even traveled to Camp Blanding to sign up and was told he had flat feet. Was told he had flat feet. That's a good place to laugh. But they would take him immediately. Gary wanted a couple of weeks to sow his oats. But Uncle Sam said, it's now or never. And he chose the never. Don L. Anderson is the great-grandson of Andrew Jack and Rosa Martin, the grandson of Essie and Will Anderson, the son of Raleigh and Mary Anderson. His enlistment, even before he finished high school, is a testament to the rich military history of this family. When he was just a small boy in the first grade, Don Anderson decided he wanted to be like his father and brothers. He wanted to be a soldier in the United States Army. 19 years after Paul, his older brother, was drafted, in the middle of his senior year, without anyone's knowledge, Don Anderson enlisted in the United States Army. It was February 1988 when Don and his best friend, Bruce Thompson, drove to Jacksonville and enlisted. Imagine the surprise of his sisters. Carlene said, and you all know Carlene, so you can imagine how she said this. Carlene said, "You done what?" Ann's response was, "You should have told somebody you were going to do something like that, don't you think?" His sister Faye said, "Do you really want to go into the Army? You can come and live with Albert and I until you get on your feet." Whatever the response his sisters may have had, it was a moot issue. Don Anderson was committed to become the next descendant of Andrew Jack Martin to serve Uncle Sam. His first stop on his service would be Fort Dix, New Jersey for basic training, then on to Aberdeen Proving Ground, Maryland for advanced officer training. Duty stations have included Germany 3 times, Korea, Bloomington, Indiana, Fort Benning, Georgia 2 times, Italy, and Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Like his brothers before him, Don has seen his share of war, serving in Operation Desert Shield, Operation Desert Storm, Operation Restore Hope Somalia, Operation Iraqi Freedom 2 times, and Operation Enduring Freedom Afghanistan. As of this writing, Don is a first sergeant, E8, sentenced in Grafenhorst, Germany, at the oldest and largest non-commissioned officer academy around the world. Paulette Vanessa Anderson, great-great-granddaughter of Andrew Jack and Rosa Martin, great-granddaughter of Will and Essie Anderson, granddaughter of Raleigh and Mary Anderson, daughter of Paul Lewis Anderson, has served as a reservist. She is the example that Jack Martin's descendants, female as well as male, have served this country honorably. In 1999, she became a reservist, entering as a yeoman, E4, attached to a Navy police officer unit. She traveled to Chicago, Illinois for boot camp. She'd do that boot camp in 2 weeks, not like the 8 weeks her Uncle Harry did. When her contract ended in 2006, she was Assistant Chief of Police at a command in Orlando, Florida. She was kept on active duty during her battle with breast cancer and was honorably discharged in 2008. So I tell you all of that so that the next time you pass by the gravestone of Harry J. Martin, don't just think it's just a piece of concrete. If you're wearing this shirt today, you got history on that tombstone. Be reminded of the rich legacy of military service rendered by the descendants of our great-grandfather, Andrew Jack Martin. And that legacy began with his son, Harry J. Martin. Amen.
Amen.